Yo, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to this week's episode of Walking 90. I am your husk of a shell host, Elliot Barr, because I am tired. I'm ready for the weekend. Teaching sucks. Workplace drama sucks. But what doesn't suck is USL League One because this league is stupid. It's dumb. It doesn't make any sense. It's high on cocaine. But joining me are my two wonderful co-hosts. Eb, how are you doing?
Great. How's it hanging?
Fucking sucks. Down below behind us is Chip. How are you, sir?
I would say League One does suck. It is shitty. It is a horrible place. The last two games don't count. They shouldn't count at all. And by the way, some of the Omaha fans sound on Twitter, it sounds like we're not making the playoffs now. So,
God damn, it's 2 games. All right.
And this is coming from a man's team who's won 2 games, getting red cards down the med. Thanks, Madison.
I will say, Omaha fans, if they can be accused of anything, it's being overly dramatic.
Oh yes, y'all are very over dramatic. Y'all went from praising the referee to wanting to assassinate that.
Pitchforks.
Hey. It is what it is. But guys, we got a lot to talk about. We got a lot to go over. We got crazy games to go over. We possibly have the upset of USL League One season. We got the game possibly of the season to talk about. We got a golden boot race that's probably going to go down to the wire. We have a magic number chart finally to know who might be making the playoffs. We got a couple of clincher scenarios that can happen this weekend. We got a whole bunch to talk about. So, guys, let's go ahead. Let's jump into it. First thing first, Richmond versus South Georgia Tormenta. Is that the first? Yeah, that's the first game we need to talk about. Pretty much, Bolaños might have shown us why he's the MVP, and also Yar was benched for this. Thoughts on this matchup? What do you guys think about this game?
I was kind of worried when I got the alert that Tormenta went up 1-0 first. And
So
then
did I.
and then Tormenta was like, "Oh yeah, we're first on the table. Let's do this."
Yeah, and look, being there at that game, man, it was kind of weird because when Tormenta went on 1-0, I was like, all right. And Tormenta was playing great defensively. They were kind of forcing Zaka and Jalen to be the progressive passes in the team versus Neil and Ethan. And then the second half came, and it's like Richmond just flipped the switch. It was just like, all right, yeah, we about to just score 3. Like, they kind of just went Steph Curry mode. Well, Jonathan Bolaños kind of did. He just took over the whole game. And they had no answer for him. But I do want to ask you guys about this. We can talk about it a little bit before we go into the next game. But Yara at South Georgia Tormenta, has he lost his starting job, or do you think they're just trying to see what else they got there?
That's a tough one. I think just because they spent so much this in the off season, can you really lose your job when you're a high ticket name? Like, is he getting the CR7 treatment, or is this just like a rest him a little bit because it looks like we're getting ready to make the playoffs and we want to have we want to give our guys some rest?
I feel like
but that was what you were about to say, Chip. My bad.
I was gonna say I feel like it's probably kind of a load management thing. You see that in Omaha with Nuhu and Kevin Piedetra quite a bit, where they'll play Kevin, and it's a long season, right? It's a long season. For goalies, it's not like you can sub them out unless you're Richmond, subbing out Akira in the 70th minute for no reason other than just fuck you, Omaha. That was like some of the pettiest shit ever. They did that. And I was like, that's got to be like a typo. And then he comes trotting out. I was like, that motherfucker. But
yeah, I ain't gonna lie, man. Like, Darren and Jameis might be the 2 pettiest coaches in League One, bro.
oh, yeah, that definitely seems like a fuck you, Jay. Like, I just beat you 3-0. You know, suck it. I'm subbing out my goalie because that's resting him. But, you know, I think it's load management. You know, he's had a rough run of form. Yara has, but I think ultimately Tormenta things are on the up and up. You're in a positive direction. It looks pretty likely that you're going to make the playoffs for the first time in team history. Outside chance of hosting, which would be super cool, especially with the new stadium. So I think it's fine. And it's one of those like load management things, and it's versus Richmond. And it's like, well, let's save Pablo for some games where we know we can probably have a better chance of winning versus Richmond, who has had an incredibly hot hand as of late.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's very true. Well, the next game we don't need to talk about at all is NCFC versus Tormenta because, NCFC
Tucson.
versus Tucson. We don't need to talk about because of travel. Game didn't happen. Doesn't matter. All right. So we move on to Charlotte versus Greenville. This game came as a complete shock to everyone because Greenville's form is dropping heading into El Petico. For those who don't know what El Petico is, it is the pettiest derby in U.S. League One history, as all leagues, because these teams will cry and fight over any and everything, literally anything. That's between Greenville and Union Omaha. Charlotte wins late to hold on to the 6th spot, guys. Beginning of the year, none of us had Charlotte in the playoff race. Charlotte is 6. What is this?
I still can't believe that no one has figured out that they don't defend. I don't get it. We're just going to keep letting them score. And okay.
Look, I'm not going to lie to you. I was very shocked by the scoreline. And I will say this. The way how Greenville lost this game is very uncharacteristic of them. Like, they lost it off of set pieces and, like, bad defending. Like, it is, I don't know, man. Are we a little concerned for Greenville heading into these last couple of weeks?
I think we'll jump on it later, but I'll cut to the chase. Especially if Omaha can figure some stuff out, it looks like Greenville's probably the odd man out on hosting a semifinal match. Which is that, the wheels falling off? I don't know, maybe. Like if Chattanooga passes them and gets the 3rd seed instead of them, that's still not that bad.
Yeah.
I think they'd probably rather have Richmond than Omaha, assuming they can beat the 6th seed. I don't know, like or 5 seed, but I don't know. I think they're going to be just fine. I think it's a very outside chance they win the regular season, but they're still in a pretty good spot. And I don't know. I think you'd have to ask them if that's a disappointment, but this league's been so crazy. If you can play a home playoff game, that's putting you in a good spot, I think. And
yeah, it's one of those things where I don't know. Like Greenville shows up and performs in the games where it's like high stakes, high intensity, but then like games like this against Chattanooga, where it's like, all right, go ahead and show us. It's kind of like they're just not there, so it's kind of concerning there. But we move on for that game, go to the game in which Keziah Sterling timed the race to the Golden Boot, which we're going to go over a little bit later, against Delco. Like I said, Sterling has a hat trick in this game. But, guys, with this loss, is Delco playoff chances kind of done? They have the most games played. Granted, their last, I think, 3 out of their next 4 home game. 3 out of their next 4 games are at home. But is it kind of over for Delco? They're going to need a lot of help to get in the playoffs race, right?
They're going to need the help, and they're not playing well at home. Like, their last one at home was against NCFC, and that was 4-1. But they're also playing NCFC, and they're not playing that well. So, like, they have to not beat themselves at home first before they ask for help from anyone else.
Well, it doesn't seem like it because they're spot in the table, but they actually have the same amount of points separating them from playoff elimination as FC Tucson and North Carolina FC.
Yep.
So you are literally on the razor's edge of these games. And you have, I'm going to pull it up real quick, but they have Omaha on the road.
They have
Omaha at home, which is on the road because all their games are on the road because they don't have a place to stay. Greenville
at home, Fuego away, and then they finish the season with Tucson at home.
So you're looking at, you have 3 teams with something to play for with pretty high stakes left. If you're trying to get in the playoff and you need all the help you can get, those are not games you want to be playing. Yeah. And like, maybe you get lucky, and lucky's the wrong word, but maybe you beat Tucson on decision day. But at that point, when you're already like the lowest playoff chances with Tucson and NCFC, it probably doesn't matter at that point. You're probably eliminated going into the last game of the season, because that is a murderer's, not a murderer's row, but you have two of the top three teams and a Fuego team that still is, they haven't played in 2 weeks, which is crazy. They haven't played in the month of September. They're 9th, but they have 2 games in hand on like everybody else on the table. So that's one of those teams where, they could sneak into the playoffs from a 9 seed by just going on a little bit of run just because they have games in hand, which would be quite crazy. But, we've seen weirder things happen in this league. This league has all sorts of dumb shit that happens every single day.
Very much so. Very much so. I think I will say this, though. If there's any team that can cause a level of unique chaos, is Delco playing Greenville and Omaha back-to-back. And you talk about being a thorn in 2 team sides that can possibly pop a bubble. I'm just saying, Delco might just be able to pull something off there.
Yeah, we've played them 3 times already this season. Once was in the Open Cup where we beat them 2-0, but since then it's been, I believe, 2 0-0 draws.
Yeah.
So it's
going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see how Delco finishes out the season. But another team that's been a little bit of a disappointment, and Cal's not here to defend himself, Ford versus Chattanooga.
We were so close to an OG's moment.
We definitely were, because the first 40 minutes, Fort Madison looked horrendous. But Chattanooga, on the other hand, looks like they're the best team in League One outside of Richmond. Guys, they have 2 multiple 5 games where they scored 5 goals. 2 since July 16th. I think since July 16th, I think they've only lost like 1 game or so. I can't really remember.
Oh, man.
Let me see. And we really did have almost RG's moment. Yeah, since July 16th, they only lost 1 game, and that was to Chips Junior Omaha.
Yeah,
Ever since O'Blader's been gone, they have not lost outside of 1 game. And that was
this was the game that I was watching instead of the actual good game that night. Just because I wanted to see the OGs.
It was close. Because I tweeted that we needed at least 3 more goals, and they gave us 2 real quick. And I was like, wait a minute. Wait.
The bigger question is, is it happening again for Ford?
Yes.
Because you guys remember, this point last year, Ford Madison was teetering, and it was all right, they could go either way. They could be in, they could be out.
They're the reverse Tucson.
Yeah.
They start off really strong, and then towards the end, they just peter out. And then Tucson, one of these years, Tucson, I saw this joke on Twitter. I can't remember who it was. If it was you, please take credit for it. But someone said one of these years, Tucson's going to realize the season starts in March and we're all in trouble.
Right. They're going to realize, snap, we can start now?
Oh, wait.
They're the kid that submits the paper late to be the date doesn't matter.
Right. It's it's just practice. But yeah, I think I listened to Talkin' Flock this week, and they talked a lot about the playoff hopes and everything else. And while Madison's not out, it certainly feels like they are at this point. You're pretty far away. You don't control your own destiny, which is always not a great spot to be in. But again, this league, dumb stuff happens. But even then, let's look at their fixtures. You have Fuego, who again is on, for some reason, didn't play all month. You've got North Carolina or NCFC. You got Tormenta, who you're going for a playoff spot with. Kickers on the 8th. By the 8th, maybe the Kickers have locked up the regular season, and that's fine. But that's a rivalry game. And then you play Tucson on the 15th. But again, just like with the NoCo game, by the time you play Tucson for the last game, maybe neither of your teams have anything to play for. And then at that point, who cares?
Yeah. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's we've seen it before at Madison. What was it, last year? They didn't make the playoffs. Granted, there was a lot of locker room stuff.
Yeah. Besides the first.
Fired the head coach. Then the year before that, missed out on the playoffs, fired the head coach. You brought in a new head coach to get to the playoffs. And if you miss out again, it's kind of just I don't know. It's kind of weird, man, that this team is on the verge of possibly the playoffs game, given how middle of the season was going for them.
Mm. Well, it's one of those things where it's like the quote is history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes.
Yeah.
History repeats in Madison, it seems like. But I think that's like the problem. And I'm going to talk about Husker football, much to the chagrin of everybody outside of Omaha and probably most of the people in Omaha too. But it's like the same thing is there's a study that goes around about college teams, and it's like the best thing you can do is just like keep the guy and just like let him like go. If you keep firing, you keep rebuilding, and it like never fixes anything. Yeah. You're just in this like continual cycle of suck. And I think Matt Glazer seems like a good coach, seems like a good guy. These aren't really his guys. I'd say they had a lot of this roster locked up. He was, I think they hired him in January. By that point, most of the teams, they hadn't announced the guys, but they had most of the guys like essentially there. You had your guys in camp, you had everything else. You're kind of struggling to put together a team, struggling to put together a system that you want to do. He's never coached in the league before. You know, he probably couldn't even name the 12 or the 11 teams in the league before December 1st. So I don't know. I think you give him another shot. It's a young guy, an up and coming guy. Give him another year or two to figure it out and then go from there. I mean, and we'll talk about it later when we talk about expectations, but over half the teams in the league make the playoffs. So if you don't make the playoffs, it's probably a time to look internally a bit. And, you know, there's a lot of outcomes you can have from that discussion. And one of them is changing the coaching staff. But I think also with Madison, at what point do you say, maybe it's not the coaching staff that's the problem in Madison?
Yeah, no, it's probably not. Like, I think they just need to commit to what they want to be.
Mm-hmm. But do they know what does the so basically finding an identity, does that identity fall within the coach or within the rest of the front office?
This joke's too easy, but they want to be a merch company.
That joke was too easy.
I had to do it.
I teed it up. That was on me. Yeah.
I don't know. I think a good case in point to look at is look at what Richmond did over the course of 3 years. You know, like if you look at how we were in 2019, we were abysmal. You know, we were literally the last team in USL League One that year. Like, granted, it was OCB, but OCB wasn't a real team. They were just there. We were literally the last team. And you look at over the course of 3 years of what Darren has built Richmond is because they gave him time, and he was slowly able to not get rid of guys from that 2019 team, but kind of embed his own guys in. You know, he built a system. It started off, you know, with Terzaghi and things like that. But yeah, it's just you kind of got to figure it out there for Madison. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think the big thing there, if we want to talk about front office, is maybe it starts with hiring a guy that's a football guy, right? Someone who knows soccer. I mean, they're kind of like an Omaha where the people that run Ford Madison are the people that run that Northwoods League. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's a baseball league. And I know like Gary Green, the Omaha owner, has said he thought running a soccer team and running a baseball team are going to be very similar. And he said, I couldn't have been more wrong. It's completely different with the fans and the promotions and everything else you need to do. And maybe it starts with, I think the COO of the team runs it, but you know, maybe you hire a GM that has a lot of soccer experience. Maybe you hire some more people to be on the technical staff that have more of a soccer background. You do a 2-team, you do something to kind of build up that kind of the soccer culture there. And if there's no problem in saying like, we're baseball guys, we need a soccer guy to run this, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think that's maybe something they could do. Just
Didn't they let that go? Didn't they let that go when they let Turbo go? The community soccer guy that you need?
Yeah. I think Turbo was more of like the roster community guy, like the guy like on the team that everyone's cool with. But like, I'm assuming Turbo just started doing front office stuff with Vermont, right?
Yeah, he's like essentially the GM up there. Yeah.
I mean, that's on a smaller scale, you know.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it was, but it sounded more like it was like he'd be the guy that would go out and like do community appearances. He'd go get beers with the supporters, stuff like that. I don't know how much of the like actual like front office stuff he was actually doing, but you know, again, it's like even if it's a ceremonial position like that, having someone like that is important. I think for all the jokes that I know I make and a lot of other people make about Madison just being a shirt company, you can't deny the fact that their fans are incredibly passionate about their team. They want their team to be successful. And, to a certain degree, when you haven't been super close to the playoffs in 3 years, like, yeah, maybe they should want a little bit more. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. And if I'm the owner of Madison, maybe I take a look at what we can do to finally bring the playoffs, especially a home game to Madison. Because, I don't know, they always seem to have a ton of talent and then just not do anything with it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm probably going to catch some flack for this, but I mean, it's probably the truth. Like, USL League One is probably a more attractive league when Fort Madison is good.
Yeah.
And case in point, look at 2019. Fort Madison was good, got into the playoffs, and no one can stop talking about them. Fort Madison hasn't been as good, and outside of us that watch the league, case in point, casual fans don't really keep up with League One because Fort Madison was kind of that gateway into it.
Yeah.
So I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, I think that's very fair to say.
Yeah, because I wouldn't know Yogi, Kyle without Fort Madison because of that 2019 trip. So that's a very fair assessment. And then my team came down, so I really had to step into it. So
yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, they're kind of like the gateway of getting everyone in. Like, every league has it. A USL Championship is probably, it's probably like Phoenix or Tampa Bay or Sacramento. MLS is probably like Atlanta or Seattle. England, like the Premier League is probably like Man United, Chelsea, Arsenal, whoever. But every league has that one or two teams where it's like, oh, they're playing? Oh, okay, let me watch it. Let me see what's going on. Because they're just that gateway into the league. And I think League One kind of, at first, was kind of built in their legacy on Fort Madison being this, Crimson Horn for them.
Yeah, well, I think that's Ebony and I have been doing that. Well, I guess you've been on some of them too, but we've been doing that series where we talk to the new teams that come into the league. And it's not a mistake that every single new team front office brings up fucking Ford Madison as where they want to go for an away day, or they talk about, ticketing strategy or merch strategy. And it's Madison. It's like, shut up about Madison.
Yeah.
But it's not a mistake because they do a lot of things well. Just most of the things they do well aren't on the pitch.
Yeah.
But if they could get that going again, it's a powerful brand. It's a powerful thing. I'm sure that if we ever get our hands on that mythical USL League One pitch deck, it's like 75% pictures of the Flock End from 2019.
Who was it? Was it Spokane that had pictures of the Flock End as their own supporters?
Oh, that was some dumb shit. That's like, for a while it was just run by the league, and the league just like took a crowd shot and then just did the lilac and blue League One USLW thing on top of it, and they acted like it was like an affront to God. It's like, let's calm down, guys. Like, they're using you as the example of super cool fan base. Maybe we should be okay with that.
Right. You're the shining example.
Yes. You're the golden boy. You get the cookie. Like, can you just be happy? I said a lot of nice things about you guys tonight. I don't normally do that.
So I don't know how to transition out of this, but
easy.
The game that next point. The game Chip is probably going to obviously pull his cord out from and saying, like, oh, my internet doesn't work anymore. It's probably the upset of the USL League One season. Tucson beat Omaha 3-0 with a 2.5-hour thunder delay. Kickoff 12 o'clock Eastern. Omaha for minute one, Chip, it just seemed like y'all got punched in the mouth and did not know what happened.
Dude, so funny story about this. So, like Yogi alluded to, the game started super, super late. For those of you who don't know, I just welcomed a child into my life 7 weeks ago. And if you don't have kids or don't know about kids, like especially at that age, they're up late. They're always eating. You always got to do something. So I took a little nap before the game started. I set my alarm. I go in quietly into my room right here, which is just right across from the nursery. I turn the game on. I hear the beautiful sound of the League One theme. I'm like, 3 points, baby. Let's go. I crack my beer that's been sitting there for 2.5 hours in my Yeti, and the baby starts fucking crying. So like, shit. So I go in, I'm across the hall, turn it up. I'm feeding the baby the bottle, yada, yada, yada. Then all of a sudden I hear a bunch of cheering, and I'm just like, oh, are they showing like a preview? Like, what's going on? I go, and it's Tucson scored in 7 seconds. I'm holding my kid. I just let an audible fuck. Like, I wake my wife up. She's like, what's wrong? It's like, I don't want to talk about it. So I'm watching it. I'm feeding my kid, finally getting back to sleep. It's one of those, like, I'm not going to move this little bastard, because if I move him and try to put him down, he's going to wake up, and I'm not going to go get him back to sleep. That lasts till the 35-minute lightning break. And I'm like, fuck it. I'm done. I put him down. I go to bed as like, whatever. Like, we'll probably draw 1-1. That's fine. I go to bed. I wake up at 3:30 to feed him again. Look down on my phone. 3-0. Didn't even watch the game. I normally watch the games again, watch them over, and I'm just like, nope, I'm done. This game didn't happen. Let's move on with our life. But damn.
Yo, I'm not gonna lie to you, dog. I was trying to stay up for this game. This game was Sunday, and I was like, all right, because NFL football already pissed me off. Tennessee stuff, they play like dog crap.
He missed a field goal. Sorry.
That doesn't even surprise me. Our offensive coordinator doesn't understand. Derrick Henry's there. We're 3rd and 1. Oh, hey, let's do a wide receiver sweep.
Thanks, Dan.
Idiot. So football already pissed me off, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna try to watch at least the first half. And then they were like lightning delayed to 11. I was like, nope, I'm going to bed. And then it was like another lightning delay. I was like, this game's not kicking off to 12. I'm definitely going to bed. Woke up that next morning, and I won't forget, I looked at my phone, and it said Tucson 3, Omaha nothing. I rubbed my eye, and I'm like, nah, that ain't right, bro. I looked again. I was like, nah, that ain't right. I'm going into the football app. That's not right. Shocked ain't the word, Chip.
So first of all, that's the game you don't even talk about anymore. You literally take that tape. You have a I don't know. You sage the entire locker room, and then you burn that tape, and everybody walks away feeling fresh and brand new. Okay.
Yeah. Like, what did you tell your team?
I've had that game, Chip. Get your fucking team. Don't
seriously, because I had that moment this year with Fuego, the first game out of Fuego, when we had 2 red cards and we got shellacked, and y'all was just like, I was like, bro, I don't know what you tell the team. Like, when you down, man, what do you tell the team? Nothing.
You say, have a good sleep. We'll see you in the morning. We're burning this tape.
Right.
Goodbye.
That game against Tucson. If I'm Jay Bibbs, I'm walking in the locker room like, this on y'all.
Yeah. Well, and I have a couple points. One, our defense, which we'll talk about in a minute from last night, but our defense has traditionally been a very strong unit. We had one guy playing in his normal position. We rotated out a lot. Omaha has like 2 midweek games in a row, so 4 games. Like, we're finally making up all those games from that we don't play because we have the weird scheduling in the spring. And so all of a sudden, not only do you have all those games, but it's Richmond and Greenville and, NOCO, who has been surprisingly resilient against Omaha. Then you play Tucson, and it's like, okay, well, this is our game to like rest some guys before we play Richmond big week. That's the big game, strategic wise, points wise, table wise, everything. And that happens. But yeah, I mean, I have no notes on what happened. Like I said, I turned it off and went to bed after the 35th minute and said, I'm done. I'm going to bed. This is not going to end well. And then I just saw the scoreline. It's like, well, on to Richmond, baby. And that didn't go well either.
Do not blame you. Because I don't think anyone woke up with, because we talked about River State 93, and even we were just like, we didn't expect much out of that game. Lo and behold, this is what happened. Talking about Richmond and Union Omaha, the game that happened last night, we possibly had the game of the season, y'all. Chip, okay, look, I'm not even going to boost or gloat about it, but let's be real. Like, as a neutral fan, that this might have been the game of the season.
Probably. I mean, I think just off the top of my head, the only other game that would be game of the season would be Greenville, South Georgia, but that's more of like, holy fuck, you'll never believe what happened. This was, two teams that were top of the table, two teams that are probably going to be the top of the table. And Gio's going to yell at me for this, but I'd say those are probably the two teams that I have, kind of penciled into the final this year. And you have a game like that, it's like, yeah, that's the game. It sucks when you're on the bad end of it, for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I know that feeling, Chip, because he did it to me like a couple.
Oh, I know. Well, and that's kind of the thing is Omaha has been that team for most people. We've done it to a lot of people where you go in and you just like kick the tar out of them. You get some like, we had 2 games this year where we were down a man and still won. Like, what? But it just sucks when you're on the other end, because this is a game that like USL isn't big enough that they play like replays of it like they do for like college football or anything. But it's like for Nebraska fans, but it's like the 2001 Orange Bowl. They're like, yeah, I'm not watching that shit. We're not watching that shit. Yeah, you can call that one of the best games of all time. I ain't watching that. I know what happens. I don't like it. That's what this game is. It's like if we do like a rewind series, that's the one I'm just like, nope. Not watching that one with you guys, especially if that asshole's in the room.
Man, I think the thing that made this game so good was like the first half, you could see both teams were really just testing each other out. But then the second half is like, I don't know what happened. It was just like fireworks.
It's not even the second half. It's like the second half of the second half.
Yeah, it was like the last 15 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
Plus stoppage time.
Right, because I'm not gonna lie to you. At one point in my head, when EVD scored, I'm like, all right, 78th minute, we're probably gonna go defensive. We can probably hold the ball, get out here with a draw. Like in my head, I was like, just get a draw, walk out of Union Omaha with points. And then JP Skeers, who probably now is in my MVP rankings, I gotta redo him. When he scored in the 81st, I was like, that's probably it. Because normally when Union was up 2-1 at home,
I thought that was sheets. I thought that was we were done. I was like,
I thought it was done. I thought it was a wrap. I was like, all right, well, crap, that's it. Like Terzaghi won't be ineffective. They marked Bolaños at the game up until that point. It was just really hard because it's a design thing that Union Omaha do, but they only do it on that field or with those goal kicks. Like Nuhu will put it very, very long, and Bez will get underneath it and get like a touch to it to have someone else run onto it. And y'all guys kept doing that over and over again. And it was
I think Ross has a stat on it where they don't count hockey assists in this league, which they should because it's a great stat. Yeah. But I think Nuhu has 2 hockey assists this year.
I believe it. Because like of that play alone, like it's hard to stop. Because you can't step up too high to the man because you leave another man on.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah, well, of course you do. It's hard to stop. But it's like, even there in the 81st minute, when I thought, like, all right, that's probably it. 89th minute, you got the fullback love connections happening with Richie crossing it across the box to Stephen Payne. And the fact that Stephen Payne got in the box to score alone in itself is crazy.
Mm-hmm. Well, the craziest was the PK, because guess who was involved on the call that got the PK?
Oh, was it
fucking Nathan Onway?
Yeah.
The former Union Omaha man.
Yeah. And this is the thing. Like, look, Union Omaha fans, I know y'all upset because I believe the PK itself is soft. Richmond fans can say the same thing. There are literally 2 PKs that I think all fans would agree are soft, but there's 2 PKs where it's like, if you leave it in the ref hands, he's going to call it. Like,
right.
Is one of those things. He's going to call it.
And I know like a lot of the Omaha fans thought the 2 goals were offsides and everything else. And Rich from over on League One on the Rocks, who I think is listening right now, asked me in a text message about that. And he's like, essentially his comment was, we all know the refs suck. Everyone knows the refs suck. So since we know the refs suck, if you're a coach and you're not planning for the refs sucking, is that kind of negligent? And it's like, yeah. Like, we know they suck. They know they're not going to call things. Like, even if a guy's like slightly offsides, you can't rely on them making that play. you got to play until the whistle gets blown.
Yeah.
And for Omaha, the two non-PK goals they scored were their two best chances of the night. And you let that happen because we had a little bit of a defensive breakdown. Was the guy onside? Was the guy offsides? It doesn't matter because it didn't get called. There is no VAR. There is no goal line stuff. We don't have that. So you got to rely on the three guys on the field who, probably work as like an accountant, a construction worker, and like, I don't know, a gas station manager or something like during their day. They're getting there on their day off, doing this game and staying at some budget hotel and going home. Like these are not like the best refs. We aren't ever going to get the best refs. We're never going to get VAR. We're never going to get goal line. Those are too expensive. So we got to rely on controlling what we can control, which is don't let the other team fucking score. Don't let them score.
But like this is the thing about it. Like okay, are they saying Stewie Ritchie was outside?
Online, I didn't look, but
yeah, but even that's hard to tell because of the angle where the camera is. You can't tell he's offside or not. Yeah. But even if it's the case, you still got Stephen Payne that blasted through 5 people to get there in the back post. You still got Ethan Vandercourt Decker that, and the free kick is so funny because he literally just stands there. He was like, I'm just gonna walk to the back and see if anyone marks me, and no one marks him. No one.
Nobody. Well, maybe I'm not done with this rant yet. Sorry, Ebony. One more thing. And that's the other thing is some Omaha fans were like, well, maybe what we should do is they should just look on the big screen. We can all see the big screen. We can all see how it looks. Do you really want them using that Chattanooga camera angle to make a call? Do you want them to use that Greenville camera angle? Do you want them to use that NoCo camera angle that's like absolute ass, that the Fuego one where you have like people standing in the way? No. Half the cameras in this league suck. So like looking at the monitor probably is not a great solution either. So it's like you got to control what you can control. And like you said, Yogi, Omaha had some defensive lapses, and that's what led to 2 of the goals. And then ultimately, just like our game versus Charlotte, where they have that call, which questionably went over the line, ultimately, because you didn't take care of some stuff earlier, you left it into the hands of the ref at the death of the play. And you get what you get. And then I would say, like, as an Omaha fan, we've definitely been on the good side of a lot of calls this year, and it was just our turn to be on the bad side.
Yeah. And this is the thing about it, too. Like, Richmond had defensive lapses as well because the penalty kick that Kresler gave up, I understand there's a scramble in the box. You got to clear that out quicker. Clear that out quicker or defend it better. And then the free kick that JP scored on. Like, OA literally let JP run free. Mm-hmm. So it goes both ways. But I think it was probably one of the more entertaining games I watched in USL League One. Definitely.
Oh, for sure. Especially as a neutral. Sorry, Ebony, I interrupted you to go on my rant about the TV.
So you mentioned like refs and stuff. So I remember reading online, someone had this amazing chart, and if I can find the tweet, I will make sure to share it again, where it's literally all the refs that have refed in League One, NWSL, and MLS are on this chart. And it's like, once you, like, if you're in USL, you kind of stay in USL until you get like a higher tier. And then once you make it up to MLS, you kind of stay reffing MLS games. So NWSL and USL are all picking from like the same terrible quality refs. So you're right. Like, you have to take into account that you're going to have shit calls called against you. Yeah. And you have to find a way to overcome it. Like you said, like it's, I've seen it both on like NWSL side and USL side. Like, I've seen the same shit ref make the same shit calls against my teams, but there's nothing anyone can do about it.
Right. And a lot of it too is soccer's becoming popular. We have a lot more pro teams now, especially with MLS next to NISA Pro Ultimate Fighter Championship or whatever it's called. Like, you added like 30 more teams that play 30 games each. So you added a ton of inventory of games to a league that already doesn't have enough guys. Like, I swear one of these days, if it keeps growing the way it does, we don't get more rests, you'll be able to go to like, I don't know, we'll be at my son's soccer game, U12s, and then the next day he'll be at Omaha's game in the center circle. It's like, Just saw that guy at like a U12 game. What's he doing reffing USL 1? It's like there are no refs. There's no refs. There's too many teams. The sport grew too fast. No one wants to be a ref. And that's just what it is. Which I think ultimately there, and that's part of a bigger conversation, but it's about, paying the refs more, making it more incentivize players to go into it. That's a really attractive thing for like former USL 1 guys to do.
Yeah. But I mean, like, also the thing, like, I wouldn't be saying like all the refs are bad. It's just lack of education sometimes, like, like lack of knowing what to do at a certain point, because like a lot of these people are just getting into it. They're just learning, and they need somewhere to learn, so they throw them in League One, whereas like, not getting the proper training. But I think that's where we leave this off. I mean, ref decisions are going to happen. Probably going to have a couple of more games where ref decisions probably influence a couple of more things, and we'll see how the rest goes from there. But let's talk about some fun stuff. So we got the top scorers. We got the Golden Boot race going on. Of course, you got Eboni and Chip on 15, Kazai Sterling on 12, Lobovitz on 11, Para on 11, Glendress on 11. So, real quick question, guys. Who's going to finish the year on the Golden Boot?
I mean, what was the last time Lobovitz even scored? I feel like I haven't heard his name in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Because he came out, and of course this league like doesn't have any stats, so it's really hard to check that. But I feel like I haven't heard his name in a while.
No, you're right. I think the last time I really heard his name was against us when he scored the hat trick. Since then, I haven't really heard his name.
We don't get ESPN stats. There's no way there's anything on this.
No, there's no like thought mobilization in a circle. It's dumb.
Okay. We do have stuff. It looks like he hasn't played since 7/16.
Damn.
Is that right? There's no way that's right.
I mean, that would show Greenville lack of scoring, but
Greenville fans in the chat, can you let me know if that's right?
Yeah, let us know. Let us know.
There's no way that's.
I don't think that's right. But
you mean if that's right, that means he's been up there with 11 for a long time, and people are just now catching him, except for Emmy.
Well, McLaughlin finally got knocked out of the top 5, and he was up there for the longest. He hadn't scored in a while,
and he hasn't played. He hasn't started a match in how long?
Well, even on Wikipedia, which I know there's a lot of people that keep that up to date, it only has him with 15 appearances. Again, here's another thing, USL. Can we just have some like basic ass stats? Basic goals, assists, games played, minute plays, subs off. Like that's all we want. We don't want anything crazy. Besides Brandon Mays looking to do like plus minus and things like that. Just give us like the basic stuff and we'll be pretty happy.
No, okay. So Lobovitz last played August 27th, because I'm looking on football. I'm just going through lineups.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was going to say that there's no way that's right, that he hasn't played since the middle of July.
Yeah, no. He last played it. Now, scoring, I can't tell you that.
Also, we can't say Garrett is out of the top 5 because there's literally 4 people tied for 3rd.
Well, I mean, if you extend it out. When's the last time Garrett scored?
I mean, it's been a while since he scored. Let's not
exactly. That's the issue. Last time he scored. All right. Oh, God. Yeah, this league is stupid. Let's talk about these magic number guys. I think it's important that we kind of start shaping kind of our conversations about the playoffs. Some teams can clinch. Some teams can't. Some teams' playoff chances ended in July. I'll let you figure out who playoff chances ended in July. But magic numbers are in. This is from the league. They kind of dropped the article that no one's read or even talked about. I swear, I need you besides just having basic stats. Like, I don't know what the league interns are doing. I don't know if they just got back to college or what. But these articles are just coming out with no kind of fanfare. They're just like, here you go.
The coach of the month was announced today.
Right. The coach of the month for August.
And it's like, right. And it's like, I think like 10 people made the same joke at the same time. Wow, that's why Omaha sucked. Head coach of the month last month.
Just like, that makes a lot of sense.
So here's hoping for Richmond to get a coach and
I
team
hope
of the month
not.
for September.
I mean, you already got Terzaghi with Player of the Month.
And once again, I hope not.
Well,
I hope Charlotte coach goes unbeaten and they name him.
If we have a loving and benevolent league, they'll just give it to Tucson. Be like, you won
Probably
some games,
will.
You beat Omaha. Here's a cookie.
Probably will. Like, oh, you did good. You're not dead yet. Totally. All right. So these are the magic numbers. These are the points that teams need to clinch their playoff spot. So Richmond sits on 8. The clinching scenario for Richmond, there was only 2 teams that could have clinched this weekend. Last night's game was important because the winner of that, if they won their next game and certain results went their way, could have clinched this weekend. Since Omaha lost, they can no longer clinch this weekend. Richmond can clinch this weekend, and this is how. Beat Chattanooga, have Madison lose, and have Charlotte lose.
Richmond or draw.
Or draw, yeah. A loss or draw, either one of those in both of those matches helps. Richmond can clinch. Omaha sits on 9 points. Greenville 10, Chattanooga 13, Tormenta 13. And then, lo and behold, wildly enough, Fuego needs 19 points to clinch, and they can still rack up 51 points, which is mental.
They're at 23 games. They haven't played all month.
I know, but it's still stupid.
It is, but which I got to imagine is if one of the Fuego guys is in the chat, I know you dropped a lot of questions. Feel free to let us know or tweet at us. It's got to be something with the stadium they play at. Because it's also the University of Fresno's soccer stadium, and I imagine they just got kind of told, like, hey, tough luck. You don't get to play here these weeks because we got stuff going on.
Yeah, that's true. So we'll see. We'll see after this weekend. Probably next time we record, we'll have a very much clearer picture of what the playoff races look like. I want to say there's a good chance Richmond can clinch this weekend, which if they do, I won't be able to stress as much, which would be wonderful. All right. I think this is the part of the show that's going to be super duper fun. We got mailbag questions, guys. We got questions to go over. We asked the audience for questions on the show, so we're going to go through a couple of these. Eb, do you want me just to read them out?
Yeah, I'll just start reading them.
All right.
So we're going to start with a couple from the crew. Chance Eamon leaves NoCo to take the Chattanooga job.
High. I think it's high. I'm going high. I think if he can I think out of the next 4 games that he can get 8 points. I'll say that. I think it's high he can leave. Going back to Chattanooga is kind of like a home spot for him. Chattanooga definitely would need a head coach. He kind of already knows the environment. I'm pretty sure he knows some of the guys there. It seems to make sense. If I'm Chattanooga, it's nothing wrong with it. You don't lose anything.
Well, my question is, why wouldn't they just keep the assistant coach that took him from 8th place to 4th and maybe 3rd place? He's already there. He already knows the guys. Guys have obviously rallied around him. Whatever demons they had seem to have been excised since he took over. They went from kind of not looking like a playoff team to all of a sudden in the playoffs. Like, why would you? I'm a big fan of like Dance with the Girl Who Brought You kind of thing, and I would assume that guy would have pole position. Maybe I don't know if he has enough cash to try to get a job with another League One team. I think it's too early to speculate at what other League One openings there are, or if you'd consider an MLS Next Pro or a NISA opening, if NISA's even still around. But I think you bring in that guy. I think he's probably the most likely candidate. And again, I can't find his name because Chattanooga's website lists
it's
like
terrible.
The owner and everything else.
No one knows I swear for like a good month, no one knew who this man was because they never showed the head coach.
Why don't we just call him Coach X?
There we go.
Yeah, we'll pretend like he's like the guy from Speed Racer back in the 1990s, and it's just like Jimmy Obleda but wearing sunglasses or something. I don't know.
What if Jimmy just standing in the bushes behind the game on a walkie-talkie?
Honestly, that would be the most Chattanooga thing ever. I'm for it. I'm not lie.
Oh man, that would be so hilarious. Also, Chattanooga FC fans, we know you hate USL League One. We understand it. Please just stop tagging all of us in your hatred for the Red Wolves. We've done nothing to you. Okay, let it go.
I think it's been widely stated on this program that we would love to have Chattanooga FC in League One.
Yes,
it would be so much. It would be so much chaos. I would love it so much.
Oh, it'd be great, and they could play each other in their little Chattanooga derby, and it'd be great, and there'd be a lot of content, and it'd be really awesome, and it'd be super awkward when like we find out that most of these people are fans of both the teams. They just want to watch soccer.
Imagine just show up to the game with a half jersey.
So we should. That's what we should do if they ever make it into the league. That's got to be like a bet. Is that we'll make some sort of pool, and whoever loses it makes a half and half Chattanooga Red Wolves Chattanooga FC jersey, and you just show up, and we'll buy them like tickets on the midline.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Sit there all proudly the whole time, like, hi.
Every time anybody does something, you cheer wildly.
You just go further in that direction, like, they score. All right, I got to sit over here. Oh, they score. I got to sit over here.
Oh my God, no. At 50+ Donor, shout out to the homie. If you don't know Bundesliga, he is the person to go to. Love you, man. Next German team for Madison has a friendly with.
So first of all, you sold out of those stupid onesies before I could get one. So if there's any way you can help your boy out and get me one of those onesies, happy to pay full price, even though I'm going to wear it to game. I just want one of those stupid Snuggies. Just need one. First of all, again, since we're being nice to Madison, I love that they do that. I wish that we did more of that. I think they're like really the only team that's brought in kind of like big name people.
I'm good,
which is cool. Good for them.
What?
I would say if Ford Madison, so Connor Kaola, if you're listening or however you say that, if you really want to like break USL 1 like German soccer Twitter, bring in Union Berlin next year.
That would be, yeah. No, you know who they should try to get?
Goat Team.
No,
Goat Team's too big though. That's the problem.
Freiburg.
Goat Team is never too big, too big
Freiburg.
or not big enough.
Freiburg would be cool. And then
Freiburg.
The other one.
I will tell you why Freiburg works. Copenhagen just did a documentary on Freiburg and like how their community is set up. And if you watch it, how Freiburg is, it seems very similar to how Madison is. Like they're very quirky, weird people, but it's like everyone's cool with them. It is like you can't tell if they're like Canadian or American or like assholes, but like they're cool.
They're schwabes.
Yeah, I think it would be dope.
Yeah,
I don't think I have a connection with Eintracht Frankfurt, but Freiburg would be dope.
Yeah. Well, and then the other real answer besides Union Berlin is like the insufferable fans derby and bring in St. Pauli.
Ooh. I'd do that game. I'd go to Madison for that.
It'd be fun, but you wouldn't want that because you know that they would fly that stupid St. Pauli crossbones on the back of the flock end from like now into eternity, like they're best friends, and the St. Pauli people would be like, who's that?
No, like it's not even that, man. Like hipster Twitter would be so over it, like, oh my god, this is the coolest team. But meanwhile, Ford Madison is like 11th. And like, have you watched the league? Like, you do know this is okay.
Yeah. Look at that. Yogi, I'm gonna need you to show that answer. Detroit City won.
Oh man.
Yeah, I wish that's the other thing too, is I wish more teams would do stuff like that. That's super cool. I'm sure they pay out the nose to get those teams to come in, but I think it's super cool fan engagement.
I don't want Richmond to touch it. Do not do a preseason friendly during the season. Do not touch it. We can do it after the season. Not during.
Fair. In fairness, you guys have something to play for during the regular season.
Ooh, Tyler. Which team has the nicest stadium/pitch?
It depends. It depends on what you want, because you can make a case for City Stadium. It's pretty. It's a pretty. No. I'm saying in terms of like pitch size, the pitch is nice. The pitch is nice.
Sure. The rest of it, though.
That's what I'm saying. Like City Stadium is like an old stadium, so it's like
stadium. I'm gonna go forward. Pitch. NCFC. They have one of the best fields in League One.
I'm trying to think.
There's like a battle rap line that I heard like a couple of years ago that I think describes Richmond Stadium, where it's you don't have a lazy eye, you have a lazy face around it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happens. The stadium is just old. Like we all know this. It's like
and I think there's something to be said like for those old stadiums. They do have their charms. I've been to Richmond. It was fun. I would say I think Richmond's old stadium is nicer than Madison's old stadium. I think the Madison configuration is nicer, but like from like a fan perspective, I like the open concourse at Richmond. I like the food trucks they brought in. I thought that was all really cool. I think the boring answer is probably NCFC.
Yeah,
it plays host to
like you lose. Like it's cool that we have the curve, but there's no one on the opposite side of that or really in the behind the goals. You know, we're like Fort Madison is really tight. NCFC, the only thing that loses me with NCFC is just for the
location, honestly.
It's not the location, really. It's like the stadium isn't as packed as it is for a women's game. Like if you take the women's crowd and put it there for a men's team, that stadium would be crazy. But it's just the atmosphere in it is not there. And I've been to both, so I've seen it.
Mm-hmm. In fairness, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Eb, but the Courage have kind of been cheeks this year. Is that fair?
They've been what? I'm sorry.
They've not been great this year?
They have not. No. Yeah. They just started going on like their run.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so they're looking at playoffs. Their win yesterday really helped that. But it kind of took them a while to get into it. So they were looking at like the same type of crowds, honestly, this year. So,
and I think that's the big thing with NCFC is for the men's side in USL 1. I mean, what's their biggest accomplishment in the league? That for like 2 weeks, they were third place in the 5th week of the season. If I'm an NCFC fan, they haven't really given me a lot to cheer for, right? Like you went down from championship down to League One.
Yeah.
You lost League One the first year. You lost it again this year, probably. It's like, yeah, I mean, I think there's a reason why people aren't going. But again, that's one of those ones where if they start winning, they start doing well, they start kind of like regaining some stuff and pulling out of the nosedives. Those could be pretty fun games down in Raleigh, the Triangle, whatever. Is it technically Raleigh? Is that right?
It's technically in Cary, but Raleigh.
There.
Dan, you're gonna have to be more specific on which team because I've shit talked like half the teams in the league tonight. I think you're Madison. I think you're a Madison fan, which
yes. He is because he didn't want us to talk about the 5-2 game.
But I mean, I don't know. I think, like I said, I think Breeze is. It's a cool old stadium, but at the same time, like they don't have AC in the locker rooms. Like the bathrooms are kind of crap. Like, whatever. But again, like I think the best stadium from like an infrastructure field position is, probably NCFC. Could Tormenta be better when they get a stadium? Sure, why not? I haven't seen it. Looks like it's pretty cool. Greenville. We'll talk about stadiums later. Obviously, their proposal got shut down. Could that be pretty cool when it's done? Yeah, probably. But I think right now, a lot of the stadium situations are built more out of convenience than out of like, we're going to build a kick-ass stadium. But yeah, I think NCFC has the coolest one. And I think if they get going again, it'd be really cool and special to see that filled with fans again.
Yeah. All right. Next one, homie.
All right. Kind of a two-parter. What team is on the hot seat and what team has the most to gain or lose? Team on the hot seats, like in terms of playoff, Charlotte. And they also have the team, and they're also the team with the most to lose.
My bad. I wouldn't even say Charlotte. Because Charlotte really playing with house money because none of us expected them to be in the playoffs.
I think all of us had them like dead last.
Yeah. I think everyone did.
In fairness, at the time, they had signed like a single dude.
Yeah, they did.
So it was like, well, we have another NCFC situation here. And obviously they've been a bit better. Had some good guys that stayed that they got to come back, but
I would say I'm stuck between Tormenta and Madison.
I think Tormenta is a good answer.
Yeah,
because
on the hot seat
with the most to lose.
Oh, most to lose.
With most to lose.
Yeah, just because they've been they made some. We've said it on this program 1,000 times, but Tormenta, like from top to bottom, is probably like one of the best run organizations in USL. They've got the whole path to pro. They've got a 2-team. They've got Tormenta. They've got the W League team who just won a championship. They've got the women's academy. They're building a new stadium. And this year they signed a bunch. Besides Omaha, they were the team that sent the most guys to new teams, and they sold the most guys. Yeah. Omaha sold one guy. I think Tormenta ended up selling 3 to 4 guys, which is huge considering they were like 9th place in the league last year. But they finally have gotten over the injury bug. Things are clicking. If they fell apart now, especially with the new stadium, that would be a giant punch in the gut. So if I think of some of the other teams, Tormenta came in with a chip on their shoulder. They said, this is our year. Charlotte kind of got lucky. You know, Madison's kind of been on the table for a while. So, I mean, if they don't make the playoffs now, I think, you know, the fans are going to be disappointed, but I don't think anybody's going to be like indignant about it. But I think in Tormenta, there'd be a lot of disappointment just because they are so close to making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Their stadium's done. They're so close. They can taste it. So I'd say it's them. If they miss out on the playoffs, I think that would hurt a lot, especially since we have some questions on it later, but they've got a lot of special talent on their team that they will probably, if I had to bet, I have no inside information, they'll probably sell a couple guys like Sterling this year. Sterling probably is not going to be in League One next year.
No. And also, like, I think if I remember correctly, they're the only team left for the 2019 year when USL League One started that hasn't made the playoffs yet. So to miss out on the playoffs now at this point, with I think 5 games left to go, would be really bad for them.
Yeah,
I think Tormenta is the right answer for that one.
So at mediocre_ace, with the season winding down, what's the baseline for a team to have a successful season?
So that's Brian from Omaha.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to ignore the
bunny costume. So he's League One on the rocks guy. That's a great question. I know that's a question I kind of wrote into Talkin' Flock this week. My answer to that question, I think in a league where over half the teams make playoffs, the basal assumption for you should be making the playoffs.
I think it's a little bit different. I think it depends on where your team is established at. So, like Greenville, Union Omaha, it's host a home playoff game with a bye. I think Greenville, like if we go back and started this year, like for Greenville, Union Omaha was to host a home playoff game with a bye. If you look at like Richmond, Chattanooga, it's host a home playoff game. If you kind of look down the table, it's kind of like, all right, get into the playoffs or be in the contention or hunt for the playoffs. You know, I think that's kind of where your team's fall. Now looking at it now, I think it's for Tucson is more or less like finish as high as you can. Like I think Tucson for them is a positive season if they finish 8th. Like I think we will probably be like, all right, that's a successful season for Tucson, given how poor the year started off for them. Right? Because they're trending upward. I think if Tormenta getting into the playoffs, if Tormenta gets in and doesn't win a game, is that a successful season for them? Because, well, they got in. You know, there's something they haven't done before in history. If Richmond gets to the final and doesn't win, we're not going to be like, oh, it's an unsuccessful season for Richmond. we're going to be like, no, that's a successful season for Richmond because, well, they've done something they haven't done before, you know?
Mm-hmm. Counter to that, though, is Tucson was a semifinalist last year.
Yeah.
They lost a lot of guys.
That's the thing. They lost a lot of guys. Like, I think I said it, like, at the start of the year, like, they probably have one of the weakest roster builds out there just because of how much money they can afford to spend.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
But so, yeah, I think ultimately, though, I would say, unless you're a special situation like NCFC last year, where it's like, we're going to play our youths, we're just going to, like, survive this year and move on to next year. Like, I think, again, like, I think the floor is the playoffs. From there, you can build up. Because, like, I think for Omaha, it's hosting a playoff game or making the semifinals or whatever else. But I think for most teams, like, if you're I don't think any team in the league probably went in at the beginning of the year and on their, like, whiteboard of, like, here's our goal for the year had finish in 8th place. But, you know, we had a lot of fun doing it.
I mean, I'm gonna tag along with Yogi on this one. It kind of depends. Like, yeah, at the beginning of it, I think our baseline was playoffs. Now looking at where the standings are, like maybe NCFC's now for the rest of the season is get 8 wins. We didn't do that last year, but we can definitely do that this year. Especially because we have 2 games against a rival coming up. So it's like, how do we, as fans, how do we make, what do we determine as our baseline versus what does the front office determine as their baseline? And for me, it's probably like, I'm going to assume like for like Omaha, Richmond, or Greenville, it's a home playoff spot or a bye, you know, because you're up there. There's no way you're not fighting for that. So.
Yeah, like I said, it all determines where you're at. Like if I'm a Charlotte fan, which you're probably not, you're probably a Charlotte FC fan. You're probably like, all right, get into the playoffs. If you're a Tormenta fan, it's like, yo, get into the playoffs. Like Chip, you're like last year. What was my whole thing last year? Like, I just need Richmond to get in. Like, just get in. I don't care how you get in. I don't care if you're in there with one dead leg. Just get in. Because it was just like, yo, we haven't been in the playoffs. That's kind of what it goes. That's kind of what it comes down to. Just get in. Anything can happen from there, you know?
All right. So from Chris, general question, dealer's choice on who takes it. What seems to be each playoff contention spot team's Achilles heel that would knock them out of winning the cup? Is it obvious? Is it more subtle to like the average fan?
Okay. So are we taking the top 6 for right now?
I'm assuming the top 6 for right now.
Okay.
I think most of us probably have the same answer. So let's just like run down. We all agree that the top 6 is essentially the 6 teams that are in playoff contention right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's just do them one by one. So let's start. Do you want to do top to bottom or bottom to top?
We do. It doesn't matter. Yeah, that's fine.
So bottom right now is Charlotte.
Yes.
Okay.
That's their Achilles heel, defense.
Yes.
Yeah. Defending.
They don't play it.
They don't. It's defending. That's literally what their Achilles heel is.
Mm-hmm. It's if you get scored on first, they lost.
Yes.
When they played Chattanooga and Chattanooga scores in the 30th minute, like the game's over.
Stun. Tormenta.
Playing at home. Tormenta's great on the road. They play the perfect style of on the road. They're the best team on the road. Playing at home has been their Achilles heel, which is weird to say.
Mm-hmm. I know Brian Evans, who is, I'm going to get his title wrong, so we'll just say he works at Tormenta. That's kind of like the joke that I keep telling him whenever we chat. I say, man, I just need you guys to get in the playoffs and beat Greenville. That's all I want. And I need you to go on the road, take that Tormenta swamp magic up with you to Greenville and just beat them. Get them out of the playoffs, and whatever happens there, it's house money. But yeah, like they have the most wins on the road in the league, and it's like not even close.
Oh, jeez. Let's see. Who's next? Chattanooga.
Reinstating Coach Obleda before the playoffs.
Different
A
room.
kid.
Okay.
A kid a bit, but I think they're a team that is constantly surrounded by like off-field stuff, whether it's fan stuff, our front office stuff, our stuff in the city, our coaching stuff, or whatever. They're just like they cannot escape it, and they just need to go in. They need to play soccer and like not let whatever random controversy that surrounds them come up in like the last minute.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would also say just they can't get. Oh, I can't say they can't get in a shootout, but they can't allow other teams to be dominant against them in the midfield. Like if they can win the midfield battle, they're fine. But as soon as they start losing, it's like they lose their whole heads. You know?
Yeah.
Is there a bad midfield in this league? Like,
is there a bad midfield? Yes. Charlotte.
okay.
It's a bad midfield.
So they don't have defense. They don't have a midfield. It's just score and go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
they're gonna trot out in the 1-1-8 for their playoff game.
Sure.
Perfect.
But yeah, and it's weird too with Chattanooga, and then we can move on to Greenville. But it is weird because like last year they were the cardiac Wolves, and they had all those equalizers and winners in like the 80th minute plus, and then this year it's just like completely turned around, and now they're the team that is getting scored on late every single time they're in a close game.
Every single time. It's crazy.
All right. Greenville.
Scoring. Literally.
Basically.
They can defend, they have a good midfield. It's just scoring. Like if Lava Vets isn't going, are you really sure you would have put your ability in Jake Keegan to score?
Has he done anything of offensive help for them?
I don't think Keegan has scored.
Okay.
I'm not. Someone double check. I'm pretty sure if he scored, he has no more than 2 goals this year. While we're checking that, make sure you subscribe to Walking 90 on YouTube and on Twitter. Support us. Check us out.
Wikipedia says 5 appearances and 0 goals, but again, who knows if that's accurate?
I'm not shocked. I believe Wikipedia at this point.
I see. Yeah, Jake Keegan with 2 goals.
Okay, okay. So not shocked. Even more, 2 goals. So outside of Lava Vets, I hate to say it. Okay, he scored against Omaha and Nuka. Okay. I hate to say it, but like this Greenville team has vibes of Richmond from last year. Like a good defensive team, but their main scorer, if he's not going, is anyone else there to really help displace the scoring. And if you get Greenville in a high-scoring game, it's kind of like their Achilles heel. Like anything over 2 or 3 goals is kind of like anything over 3 goals. I don't know if Greenville can respond.
And then Omaha
scoring,
playing on the road.
That too.
Yeah,
which might have to do that for the final if we do it. But if you look at Omaha right now, Omaha's sitting on 30 goals in all league competitions. We're essentially caught up. The only 3 teams that have less goals than Omaha this year are Fuego, Tucson, and NCFC. But they are also all on 23 games. So by the time they catch up to Omaha, it's very likely that Omaha could go from the highest scoring team in the league last year to the lowest scoring team in the league this year. And we know Omaha can defend. They've had 2 rough games in a row. Yeah. But really what it's going to be is if you get the scoring going, it makes life a lot easier on your defense. But if you can't score, it's not going to end well because that's a brain dead team who scores more wins. But if you can't score, like you're waiting on a team that's a lot better at scoring to win. I mean, Richmond has 18 more goals than Omaha does.
You almost have a full another Emiliano Terzaghi.
Right. It's so like if they're playing in the finals, like who do you think's going to score? Probably Richmond. And even though we can stop we're the sturdiest defense in the league. If you can't score, you can't win. And at that point, I guess you hope you go to a shootout, but who's going to win in a shootout? The team that can score a lot or the team that doesn't really score? I mean, it's essentially luck at that point, but
Yeah.
Omaha's shown some good flashes, which is why I think like the Tucson game is more disheartening than the Richmond game, just because we scored twice against Richmond, who's a good team. They're a solid team defensively. But if we don't score, like we're, a 0-0 draw in the semifinals, like that doesn't get you anything in the playoffs. It's about winning at that point.
Pretty much.
All right. And then finally, kickers.
Set pieces, I would say. That's kind of like our Achilles heel.
I mean, goalkeeper height really as well, but
Yeah,
that felt like a low blow. Like,
no, I mean, it hasn't been a big of an issue this. Well, no, let me backtrack. Set pieces and clean sheets. We haven't kept as many clean sheets as we have in the past. And set pieces, we don't score a bunch of. I know. Last night we scored from a set piece, but we haven't scored as many set pieces. We don't score from set pieces like that, and defending them, we can let it a blunder here and there. So I think that's how teams will kind of attack us and whatnot. What do you think, Chip?
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. I guess the other thing would be Richmond really hasn't been in this position yet, and does the pressure get to them? Like they've dropped some stinkers, and maybe being the hunted is not going to go well for them in the playoffs. I don't know, but
yeah, and it's still weird. Like even though Richmond's like fighting for this 1 seed, I kind of still feel as if like we're in the underdog. Like I feel like when the playoffs is all said and done, I feel like everyone's going to be like, all right, it's Greenville, it's Yogi, Omaha. Those are the teams. And then Richmond's going to have to prove to people like, no, we're deserving of this 1 seed because people think of Richmond as the stepchild to those two teams. Granted, they earned it, but they don't think of us,
I will say, if the U-Crops Cookie Man is listening, if you guys win the championship, you're retiring Terzagi's jersey.
Oh, what? 100%.
Like, shouldn't even be a conversation. Like, that man has single-handedly turned around your franchise.
Oh, 100%.
Which is hilarious because, like, when he got signed, it was like, oh, it's just another washed South American guy coming in, and then he just comes in and just like, let's fuck you guys.
Right.
And he's like good enough to like kill the league, but like not good enough that he's getting like bought out and moving to championship or something else. And so it's like, you just can't get rid of him.
No, he's
like,
going to be here.
As annoying as like Hurst and like Dummy were for Omaha, it's like, well, in Conway, it's like, you know what? They're going somewhere else after this year. So we're done. Like let them have their fun, but they're not going to be here next year. But Terzaghi, it's like that man's going to be like 42 and still scoring 13 goals a year for Richmond.
The crazy thing
is he DeMarcus Beasley?
Might be like the thing is like Terzaghi doesn't rely on athletic ability to beat people. Like it's just technical ability. It is like, bro, he can keep playing. He keep doing this, which is crazy.
All right. A quick one. Who will be first out of the playoffs and who gets the first round bye? First out of the play, like if we're going with the 6 teams that are here now, first out is definitely going to be Charlotte.
So Charlotte will play Chattanooga and Tormenta will play who?
4 and 6 and or 4 and 6 and or good lord, 3 and 6 and 5 and 4.
Yeah.
So that would be Chatta versus Tormenta and Greenville versus Charlotte. I don't think Greenville lets that happen again. And then Chatta versus Tormenta is just going to be a dogfight, and it's going to be last score wins. Like, literally, they're going to play to like a 5-4.
I think Chattanooga.
Chattanooga's first out?
Well, depending on what times the games are played.
Yeah. That's so weird. Yeah. But I think if I'm looking at that, probably Charlotte and Red Wolves are the teams I'd kind of pick.
Yeah. Because I think Tormenta can go in there and knock Tormenta, knock Chattanooga out.
Yeah. I mean, they've done it multiple times this year. They'd be like, on paper, I'd almost even give the nod to Tormenta over Chattanooga being the better team.
Yeah. I think I'll go there.
Yogi, this is specifically for you from @Geo He says, Yogi, congrats. How did it feel to have your first child last night?
I don't understand what Gio is talking about. Gio tweets are kind of like weird and cryptic sometimes, and I don't be paying attention to him after because I haven't been on Twitter like that. But I can't say that Omaha is our child because we didn't sweep them. Only team that we swept is Tucson, and that's a good sweep.
Has any team been swept this year?
You said, yeah, Tucson. Tucson
by you. Anyone else?
No. It's been like gentleman sweeps. Like we gentleman sweep NoCo, Union Omaha. We're the crazy thing is we can still end up as number 1 seed and be swept by Greenville and Fort Madison. Like it'd be gentleman sweep by them. That's crazy. That's crazy. Like I think
Omaha can
sweep NCFC.
Yeah, Omaha can sweep Fuego.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the last game of the year for us at home.
So I think that's it for us.
@McNamerson Fake asked best / worst team game day promotion.
Oh God. Best? That's hard to say. I don't keep up with most of the team promotions, let alone other teams.
Well, I mean, like, I think Madison's like the only team that like does promotions. Like Omaha has like theme nights.
Yeah,
I think like everyone has theme nights, but it's kind of like, I don't know. It was first responders night versus Richmond, so they had like a fire truck in front of the stadium, and I'm sure they like brought up like the Bellevue sheriff and fire department to like get a little round of applause before the game started. Which is kind of like, is that a theme night? Sure.
I think Fort Madison was who really have theme nights, like drive a bike to the stadium and get a free dog or some shit.
Yeah, I mean they really hit it. Some of them, in fairness, I'm not the target audience for Fort Madison ones, but like they all really like the baseball night versus Omaha.
I mean, those are fun. Like they do like very tailored things for every game, which is really cool. So honestly, I think the best is forward. I think we can all kind of agree on that one. But
I will
worst
say
is Charlotte because they do nothing. Yeah, you know what? Charlotte's the worst because if you ever watched a Charlotte game, they do like this weird thing on corner kicks where like they dim the lights and play like this like weird twisted music. Like it sounds like haunted house music. And then you have like this 1776 like. It gives real big Bagel vibes. That's saying something given who their owner is. But it's very weird.
I will say, though, just because it's happening this weekend, best promotion is Omaha's doing Oktoberfest. So Omaha, it's like something absurd. Like 40% of Omaha has German heritage. And it's even though, I'm sure if 50 plus donors listening, I'm going to get yelled at for saying this, but Oktoberfest is not a German thing. It is a Bavarian thing, specifically like a Munich thing. But Oktoberfest are huge here. There's like 800 Oktoberfests all over the city. And it's super cool that the team is like doubling down. When we went to the game on Wednesday night, they have like the big ass tent out there. They're doing German food. They're doing German beer. They have a Stein. They've got a polka band. They're doing like the whole 9 yards. And it's like really refreshing to see them do something like that and say, we are willing to commit to this bit and do something special because we know that in this community, people go absolutely apeshit for Oktoberfest. Yeah. It sucks that it's the same weekend as like the biggest one, which is at the German American Society, but that's just bad luck this year. But I think it's super cool that they're willing to go all in and put their money where their mouth is and not just do like, I don't know, it's whatever night we have 50 t-shirts. They're going going all in, and I think that's really cool. And overall, I think more teams should follow Madison's example and do these kind of wacky promos because it seems to really work.
Yeah, Richmond's done a cool few things this year with the 30th anniversary. We've given like a couple out of retro T-shirts and whatnot, designed to like old jerseys and whatnot. So that's been kind of cool to see.
We've done a couple, but it's not been as promoted as it should have been because if they were, they would have definitely been bigger hits. But Tucson is also the worst I've ever seen. Like we don't do much, but they really don't do much. They show up, they tweet, "We're here." They tweet, "Here's the game," and then they go, "Good night." So
Tucson said it's too damn late to do a promotion. Y'all just hurry up and get this shit over with.
Chip, who's your worst?
I think the worst is just not doing anything.
Yeah.
So whoever's just like not doing out there, you know, it's one thing. And, you know, like our first year, the GM at the time, Matt Hominoff, asked about promotions. And, you know, I was a hardo and I said, well, the promotion's soccer. We're playing soccer. Like, we don't need all this baseball crap. You don't see like the Blue Jay basketball team having theme nights. It's like, well, yeah, because they sell out every game. Like, why would they do a theme night? Like, we don't sell out every night. Like, unless you're selling out every single game you have, you should be having some theme or promotion or something. Like, otherwise, that's kind of on you. Like, you just, you know, it's like you didn't even turn in the assignment.
Looking at you, Chattanooga. Looking at you.
Careful what you wish for.
Sorry.
I was going to say, careful what you wish for because they'll start doing theme nights and it's not going to go well.
Oh, don't. No. Tyler asked a few questions. So I'm kind of breaking his up a little bit. How many years do you think it'll take for League One to have an Eastern and Western conference? And any cities in the Midwest and West you'd love to see join?
Let's forget about the West because the West is about to get a whole bunch of teams. The Midwest is about to get a whole bunch of teams. Can we get some teams on the East Coast, specifically like closer?
What do you mean, Yogi? North and South Carolina could literally have their own league within League One.
Yeah, you look at the first flight league that just started, and it's just all League One teams.
I just
like
really want a team like
League One.
just give me one USL League One team in like the Baltimore DC area, like somewhere there.
Oh, that's going to be championship though when they do that.
Yeah.
No.
What's the Maryland team right now? The Bobcats?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell them to come down to League One.
Right.
I think too out there, you know, you have even more. It sounds like High Point's actually going to go MLS next.
Yeah.
But you got, what do you have? Wilmington that's going to be coming.
Yep.
Clemson's been rumored for a while. Knoxville. You know, there's a bajillion.
Literally, we could do these 4 states as one conference. It's just the South.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, in like 2025, there's going to be more teams in just like the Mid-Atlantic region than there are in like League One right now.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be like Omaha, Madison, Santa Barbara, Tucson, and Fuego, and that's it. Spokane, and that's it.
I would like. Let me see. If it's possible, I would like to see Reno come down to League One. I feel like that would be cool. I know Boise's been rumored for a while, but I don't really see how that's going to work.
If we're talking teams moving down, Memphis should just come on down right now.
Memphis is doing too good in the championship. They're coming down.
Yeah. I mean, if we're talking teams coming down, I think you circle Charleston.
Yeah.
That's the easy one.
That's like, the easiest one you look at. You look at Charleston.
Memphis is doing okay. I can still see they would thrive.
They're only in the top 4 in the USL championship.
Yeah, but they're not doing anything out like in that stadium. They're not like.
Well, I think that's the thing too. Like, I know that's like why Reno and Fresno allegedly folded was because allegedly, and I've never seen this anywhere besides like tweets, but from like non-league sources, but allegedly you have to have plans to build the soccer specific stadium by year 5 in the league.
Yeah.
And Fresno and Reno both had their options just like dry up. And so they're like, well, we're not getting one, so we're just done. Granted, Fresno, the guy just wanted to hightail it out and go sit on the beach in Monterey. But it's like, why don't we have a team in Reno? It's a huge city. It's like it's a big city for League One.
Yeah.
Like they could support a League One team. They supported a championship side. They could support a League One side. Who cares if they play at a baseball stadium?
Who's in the where did Locomotive? El Paso?
Yeah.
That would be another one I could see happening.
Market size. Yeah. There's a lot of weird. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, there's no USL League One team in Texas, so I think that's a market they'll look at using for League One, which would be interesting.
I wouldn't be surprised if that Fort Worth team ends up being League One instead of championship. Former Bold. Texas. It's like the Southeast. Like if you could just like make up a city name in the Southeast and tell me they're getting a League One team, and I'd be like, yeah, sounds right. Sounds right that Yogi's Holler, Alabama's getting a team. It's like, yeah, that's big city, upcoming place. All the places in
Savannah.
That'd be a good one. They're getting NISA. The Savannah Clovers are going up there, which we'll see them. We'll see in a few years, guys. See you next year.
So League One in 3.
Yo, whatever happened to New Jersey Teamsters? Has anyone heard from them?
No.
Who? Oh wait, never mind.
I never heard of them, but
Yeah. Like Midwest, though, there's a lot of teams like Wichita, Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
You know what? You know what team
Missouri.
from League Two I would love to see come up? It's Flint City Bucks.
Yeah.
I would love to see them come up. They would be a good team.
Michigan's another state that has a ton of like cities that are in the League One population. So if you get like, I don't know, 2 cities in Michigan to do it, that'd be super cool because they're close. They're big enough cities. Like if you got like, again, you can tell me city names in Michigan, and I would just assume they're correct. But like Lansing and Grandview or something. It's something like Grand Rapids. Like,
I would love to get Lansing back just to play against them again.
Yeah, that'd be so cool to have like 2 teams in Michigan, and you could easily do it. And I think the real answer is you're going to see a ton of these teams eventually. The article that came out where they talked to Papadopoulos said they have like over 60 teams they're currently talking to about League One. The big date to circle is 2026 World Cup. And I don't know. I think that's one of those things where it's happening a lot slower than I think the fans want, than the league wants. I think people are trying to test the waters. But I think once you see places like Omaha get a stadium, Greenville get a stadium, things like that, and have there be a little bit more longevity, then you'll start seeing people that are a little bit cautious come in. Like it's not an accident. There's all these teams in the Southeast coming in because you have a bunch of teams that are all getting it done and they're all like drivable with fans. So yeah, why wouldn't you revive the Hammerheads? There's like 20 teams you can drive to.
Sure.
From Mark, he says, would finding a gambling sponsor be a good move for the USL considering the recent sports gambling boom?
Yeah,
it wouldn't hurt.
It wouldn't hurt.
I think in England, they're kind of going away from it. But I think that's one because it became so pervasive into just some they already have too much money in the Premier League, so they can say no to money. I don't really think League One is in a spot where League One can say no to money.
Well, I think the Championship has something, don't they? Was it better? Remember they did a deal or something? I can't remember what it was.
Yeah. Omaha had like a daily fantasy deal in 2020 that like ended halfway through. But I think there's so much money in those gambling sites and like the daily fantasy stuff. It's crazy to me that you have all those places that like advertise on podcasts like Casper and all Audible and stuff like that. That'll throw hundreds of thousands of dollars on an episode of like, I don't know, or Pardon My Take or something. And, you could have a jersey sponsorship for like a quarter of one episode of advertising.
Right. I don't know. We'll see. What about it?
At Connor_Houston asks, any news on soccer-specific stadiums around League One? There's Omaha, Greenville, Tormenta, which is already underway.
Yeah.
Any news? I haven't seen anything in a while. I know Greenville was trying to get that bill passed, and I don't know what happened with that.
Yeah.
Chip, is there anything about Omaha and a soccer-specific stadium?
Yes, there is actually.
Oh.
Gary Green, owner of Union Omaha, went on. I don't know. I've never heard of the podcast before. Like, it's not a super huge one, so good for them for getting Gary, because that's a cool guest. But they got Gary to talk on the record about a stadium project and like going up to championship and like all this stuff. And in Omaha, like if you talk to people in the front office about a stadium, they just say, we're just trying to get through this year. We're just like working through this year, yada, yada, yada. Gary's out there like naming neighborhoods, like talking about like dollars and real estate developments and the part of town where it's rumored to go into, like demographics, all this stuff. And it's like, Gary, like you are, and it's his team. So like he can do whatever he wants, I suppose. But it's like, Gary, man, like you're giving away the whole shebang.
Yeah. It's giving away everything.
So I will try to find that link and we can repost it if we want to. But if you are an Omaha fan or just kind of interested in like stadium news, it's definitely worth a listen. It's only like 30 minutes long too. So it's not super time intensive, but like I said, Gary like definitely talks. I don't want to say more than he should, because obviously it's his team and he can do whatever he wants with it to a certain degree, but he definitely like said a lot about it.
Yeah. Whew. We got any more questions left? Are we good?
Tyler asked quite a few.
God damn, Tyler, how many questions you asked, boy?
We have one from Taylor that says, how long do you see Amy Andrews and Keziah Sterling staying with Tormenta?
Not long. They gone after this year.
They're gone.
They're gone. Next.
Amy Andrews? Okay. Players that are going to make the move to championship or a higher league next year?
Bolaños, JP Scars, Keziah Sterling. Who's the boy from Greenville? Name starts with a G. Last name started with a G. God, I can see his face. He leads the team in assists for Greenville. Hold on. I can tell you his name. As soon as I see his name, I know who he is.
The real answer is it's going to be a lot of guys. Like I think we had.
It's gonna be more. Just put it like that. It's gonna be a lot.
Yeah, and it's going to be some guys that you wouldn't think make the move. It's going to be some guys. There's going to be people that should have made a move but that didn't. Like, I just think that's the interesting thing about it is there's so much of a need for players and everything else. And for some guys, it might just be timing. Like, who would have thought that Bobby Murphy and Firmino, who like didn't sniff the field for Omaha, would be in the championship right now? I didn't, but here they are. And Bobby Murphy is the captain of the New York Red Bulls too. And Firmino's like the best player on Atlanta too, which I suppose says a lot, but there's going to be random guys and going to be some weird stuff. Like, why is Nuhu still in this league? Like, why is Terzaghi still in this league? Like, why is JP Skier still playing in League One? Like, these are people that should not be in this league anymore, but here they are.
Right. I think you will see a lot more cash deals, a lot more transfers versus just free deals.
Yeah, Peter Marlette Jr., Omaha's GM, went on League One on the Rocks, and they asked about like transfers. And that's one of the things that he kind of talked about is in the past, League One teams are just so excited to get the deal done that they'd sell guys for like a ham sandwich and a cup of soup. And that's like the league came in, they got together and said, we can't do that anymore. Like, I know you wanted to get the deal done, but like in 2019, they were selling guys for $5,000.
Thank you. I know Richmond because we had a dumbass in the front. Because we had a dumbass in the front office that came up with the tagline "Joyful, Authentic, United." He sold our best player for $7,000 to Real Salt Lake. And you know how we all found out? The man re-signed with us. We sold him for $7,000. It was just like, you fucking idiot.
But I think that's the big thing is maybe it slows down a bit. I think you saw a lot of guys go for free, and I don't think they want that to happen again. Like for Omaha, sending 8 guys up, that's awesome. They got money for one. One of those guys put money in Omaha's pocket. Like in any other normal league, Omaha would be like laughing to the bank with all the money they would have gotten from transfer fees. Like if you look at like, League 2 or National League transfers, which are, probably roughly about equivalent to League 1. If you look on like FOTMob's player values, like those guys all go for like a couple $100,000.
Yeah.
Like you said, you have Richmond out here, they're selling a guy for $7,000. It's like, why? Like, that's not even his salary. Like, you can't even sign another guy for that.
No.
And it's like, you probably would sell more than $7,000 in tickets if you kept the best player on your team who's good.
That's why he's not here anymore. Next.
Hipster Kibble asks, what is the criteria to get a W League team? And why don't all USL 1 markets have one? And
Money.
how does that correlate to men's teams? And I think
Money.
that question is a better question, better asked to like Soraya, who I think we should definitely have on to talk W League, because that would be one of the better questions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we should. But short answer is money. Most of these orders don't have enough to cover.
Yeah, like
one team, let alone 2.
Well, and I think money isn't really even like, that's the super simplistic version of it. But like the W League, they don't cost a lot to run. You don't pay the players. Like the coach is a part-time guy. I think the real answer is facilities, right?
Yeah.
The teams that have W League teams, it's like Tormenta, it's Chattanooga, it's Greenville. Who am I missing?
That's it from League 1.
Yeah.
we have a
Independence. Charlotte.
Yeah.
Has one.
Independence has one. NCFC is kind of weird because you have the NWSL team.
But we have a W League team too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. So those all make sense. You have your own stadium. It works out. Like teams like Omaha, where they share a stadium, like Omaha, Noco, Fuego, where you're sharing a stadium. Like, what are you going to do with the W League team? Are they going to play the same weekend as Union Omaha plays, and you have like a double header or something? Like that would be exhausting and expensive, and you tear up the pitch and everything else. Like, honestly, I think for W League, like the weirdest one to me is, why doesn't Madison have a W League team?
Yeah, that's true.
Because
I think money. I think it's money. I think they just can't afford it, like facility wise.
They can double the amount of jerseys they sell.
And that's also true.
Like you put a W League team in those same jerseys and it's gonna sell.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and even if Madison got, I think they're averaging 4. We'll fudge the number a bit because they're doing a lot better now. But let's say they average 4,000 for men. Even if they did 2,000 for women, that'd be one of the most successful W League teams. And I think the Madison fans would come out for that. But it is weird, and I think ultimately that more teams don't. But I think as more teams get permanent homes and there's kind of more pressure placed on teams, they're all going to get W League and Super League teams. It's always weird in the first year just because no one wants to be the first to go. But especially with like the success that Tormenta's seen, I think you probably see a lot of teams do it, especially because like if Omaha gets a stadium, we have like 3 Division I programs within 60 miles and like 7 NIA Division III, Division II programs. So it's like you just get the people from those teams, like make one of them the coach. Like there you go, there's your W League team. But again, I think it's just the further investment in the sport, and that's why it's super cool that so many of the new teams are starting off with a W League team or a Super League team in the league, and hopefully we see that going forward, and it becomes kind of more of a conversation of why don't teams have W League teams as opposed to why do they have W League teams or Super League teams.
Yeah. Next.
I'm rich, but I'm not. We kind of answered a lot of his questions already. Unique partnerships we could explore, which is kind of like the gambling. Who's chasing the first round bye? Richmond, Omaha, Greenville. Who's left out? We kind of answered that one too. And who's first out of the playoffs? We definitely answered that one. his only question we didn't touch was how will the Caribbean Football Union benefit League One? That's a whole nother podcast that would take like an hour.
Yeah, I don't got the energy to answer that.
Yeah. But I think the short answer is player development, scouting, everything else. Because I know when like Omaha signed Willis and we bought him, like I was just like looking for someone who covered the Jamaican Football League to like talk to. I couldn't find anybody. Like I think there's a lot of talent in those programs, and you're kind of seeing it already in championship where a lot of these, you know, like MLS was huge for like Central American players. And I think USL could be huge for Caribbean guys and getting solid minutes outside of the Caribbean leagues, getting more development, getting playing a higher league, and ultimately developing that talent further.
Yep.
Tyler, because he's our last question. What is the most important lesson incoming expansion teams can learn from the recent expansion teams in regards to being successful on and off the field?
Your stadium needs to be done before you play.
Right.
Good one.
Look at NCFC and don't do that.
Ow. I'm not ending on that. That's hurtful.
Okay. Don't totally suck and have a plan for more than 3 years. Pretty much don't do a Lansing. That's it.
Yes.
Don't do a Lansing.
And which current 3 USL League One players would be the most beneficial to building an inaugural squad for your team?
Huh?
Like,
so
if you could take 3 players from any teams that are playing right now, who would you take to build your team around?
Nuhu.
Yeah, Nuhu.
Servania. If we're just taking from our 3 teams, Servania. Or Showcat.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah. Emmy.
Yeah. Because I think if you have a solid goalkeeper and then 2 scoring studs, like that's kind of an awesome place to start. Because a good goalkeeper in this league can really help out a struggling offense. And then ultimately, if you just need people to put it in the back of the net. If Omaha had people that could put people, good Lord, if Omaha had people that could put the ball in the back of the net, we wouldn't be sweating it out in second place right now.
Pretty much.
And that was pretty much all of the questions.
Oh, thank God. I can't go no more. All right. Do we have to go over our picks, or can we just put them out on Twitter and say, go look at the Twitter?
I think we can just put them out on Twitter. I'm okay with that.
Good. I'm tired. It's like 11:30.
You got to go to school tomorrow, too.
Oh, God,
we answered a lot of questions, so I appreciate everyone that asked questions. I'm sorry we did not say one nice thing about Fuego. Your chaos means a lot to us. That's my nice thing about Fuego.
Oh, God. What's one nice
I
thing
think Fuego could be really special if you get your stadium thing figured out.
Yeah. If you get your stadium figured out, Fuego could be a hotbed. It could be a hotbed.
I do like following the Escuadron del Fuego on Instagram.
They are dope.
Yeah, they do some cool shit. Like so that's my nice thing to say. Go follow them on Instagram, watch their videos. It's cool shit. They do cooler stuff than whatever your SG's doing. I guarantee it.
Yeah, 100%. Like I'm not even jealous. Like they're dope shit.
Mm-hmm.
Never gonna lie. I'll let you close out.
That's all of our questions.
All right, y'all. Have a great night. Remember, respect teachers. Don't give us a hard time. We can literally ruin your kid's future. Like, seriously, we can ruin that shit. Don't piss us off. We're like restaurant workers. Like, if you cuss at us, 9 times out of 10, we will fuck up your food. Please, don't do it. You got a lot of great games coming up this week, y'all. Keep an eye out on the Twitters. We did some fun stuff on there. I'm tired. I'm just rambling at this point. Y'all have a wonderful night. I'm half asleep. End the show. End the goddamn show, Elliot.